Hi y'all, welcome to my channel. I'd rather be stitching. This is my first FlossTube video. It's actually my first video, so please bear with me. I have stage fright. My name is Tamara and I live in Eastern North Carolina with my husband of 24 years and our youngest daughter. For the last 18 years, I've been a stay-at-home mom, and for 16 of those years, I have homeschooled our children. And our youngest daughter just graduated high school over the summer, so it's freed up a lot of time for me to do other things. So, of course, the first thing I did was to look up YouTube videos for cross-stitch. But most of those turned out to be tutorial videos, which I didn't want. But I did see one on Catkin and Lily about the railroad stitch, which I had never heard about, so I watched her video, and then when I was scrolling through her other videos, I saw that she had just put up her first FlossTube video like the day before or something like that. So I watched it, and I was just immediately hooked on it. I didn't know what FlossTube was, so I Googled that first and I found out what it was. And then I went back to YouTube and I looked up FlossTube videos. And since then, I have watched a lot of FlossTube videos and I really, really love it. So I wanted to be part of this community. So I hope that y'all will be welcoming. So that's how I found FlossTube. As far as cross stitching, my mom taught me how to cross stitch when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and she's always been very crafty, so she tried to teach me other things too, and some of them I learned and some of them I did not learn. And cross stitch I really loved though, so when I was a kid she would draw out a pattern for me on graph paper, and then she would mark off the area with floss and find the center for me and then give it to me and let me do the rest. And about 5 years ago, she gave me all of her stuff, all of her Aida, all of her floss, all of her patterns, everything, because she has arthritis and she can't hold the little needles anymore. And in all of that, I found the first 3 projects I did when I was growing up, and so I want to start this video by showing you those. The first one I have, now normally I know you don't show the chart, but she drew this one, so I'm going to show it. This is Pup Cake. It's Strawberry Shortcake's dog, and I did it when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and this is pretty mangy looking, but it was in the hoop for the past 40 years, so that is what it looks like. So that was my first. The second one I did when I was 11 years old, and this was another one that she drew for me. And my grandfather was a Yankee, so he hated to be called Grandpa, but I like to tease him anyway. So I called him Grandpa just to mess with him, and unfortunately I never finished this one, but because this one was for him, I am actually going to finish it. And this is just on 14 count blue Aida. And actually until recently, when I started watching FlossTube, I didn't even know that people cross-stitched on anything other than Aida, because all I've inherited was Aida, and all I've ever done other than that are kits, which obviously usually come with Aida. So, and then the third one I found in her stuff, I can't show you the pattern for because it's an actual chart, but I was 16 when I did this one, and this was for a guy that I was dating in high school, and obviously I'm never going to finish it now because I don't care about him, and I never really liked Garfield. So that one is a UFO, I guess, forever. So then there was a few years again after that I didn't stitch at all, because I was a young adult and you know how that is. But then when we moved down to North Carolina in 2005, we went to Michael's you know, me with my kids and my husband and everything, and we were just looking around at stuff to get, and I found this book. This book is amazing because, as you will recall, I said that I was homeschooling our children, and at that time I was homeschooling 5 of them, and that is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. So these tiny little projects were super easy to do and to fit in my schedule, and you can see that this book is very well loved. So a lot of the pages are falling out, but I've actually done a lot of the ones that are in it. So they're just little quick things, which I never did anything with these because I just wanted to stitch. So these are just some of the ones I did that are from this book. And then at some point I found, this one was actually a little tiny kit. It wasn't part of that book. But at some point I found this little Mito box. Here's one more. It's from another little book of minis I have. It's all bears, which I don't really like, but this one I like because it's Noah and the Ark, and I thought it was really cute. So when I found the little miter box, it came with an X-Acto knife saw. I bought it, and I got balsa wood, I guess, and I started turning all of these little minis into magnets, and I made this set from my mom and my stepdad's refrigerator. I made this in 08, this, like all this set, and I gave it to them as a gift. But then when she moved back in with me several years ago, I re-inherited all of them, so now they're on my fridge. And this set, I love this set. It's from the same little book. I made these ones for my grandma and granddaddy, and they were on their fridge for years until they died. But then when they died, I re-inherited them, and I love them just because they're old-timey looking stuff. This one, Man, was their last name, so I made them. And I love this little water pump. So all of those I actually keep on my fridge, and this one I made for myself, and I keep it on my fridge. And this one was another little kit, but I like ladybugs, and my mom always called me her ladybug. So I keep it hanging in the kitchen. But most of the stuff that I make as gifts to people. So I've given it all away. But 2 of them that I can show you, these are FFOs that I gave to people, but I asked could I borrow them for this video. So this one, I just call it Crane. It had no name, and it's from the Garden Fresh Cross Stitch magazine from 2006, and there was no designer listed. It's on Ada 14 count blue, and I used all DMC floss for this. And I made this for my daughter Taryn because she loves Japanese things, like everything. So I finished that for her, and I had my husband to help me put it on this like scroll type stuff because to me that just seemed Asian. The next one I made for my mom because she had to move into a nursing home a few years ago, and I wanted something happy to put up on her wall. So I found this. It's called Hedgie the Hedgehog by Jan Brett. I found it online. It was a free online pattern. It's on 14 count Ada, and the color of the Ada is called Light Fiddlers. And so I just asked could I borrow this for a few days to show y'all. But this was actually my first time doing a pattern that had blended threads, and it was kind of a hassle to do all of this fur with the blended threads, but I really love how it came out. So there's that, and she loves it. So some of the things that I finished that are not fully finished yet, but they're done. I just finished this one in the summer because I needed something really bright to stitch. I've been working on this this other project, which you'll see in a few minutes. It's very faded colors, but it's a gift, and I've worked on it for like a year. So I really needed something bright to work. And this one was really fun to work. It's from the Seaside Collection from Cross Stitch Favorites magazine, and it was the summer of 2023 issue. And it was designed by Durian Jones, and there's a whole little set of these patterns that were included in that, and I want to work some of the others, but summer is ending, and so now I'm really into fall stitching. The next ones are called State Birds. They're from a Leisure Arts leaflet number 322, from 1984. This is one of the sets of patterns that I inherited from my mom, and I really, really love these birds. And I wanted to do them because these birds behind me, my great-grandmother did them. And I can't remember if it's called crewel work or some other kind of needlepoint. It's not, obviously it's not cross stitch, but I can't remember what it's called. Maybe y'all can help me out in the comments. But I did 2 of the birds so far, and there's a lot more that I want to do. So they're not framed yet because, well, these were finished in 2021, and as long as it takes me to get through patterns, I feel like if I bought a frame, they would not sell the same kind anymore in the future, and then I'd have different frames, and I want them to all match. So I'm just going to stitch all the ones I want to do, and when I'm done with that, I'll buy all the frames at once and frame them up and put them with these birds. So one of the things I finished this year that I'm super, super proud of, which also I started last year, but again, I'm a very seasonal stitcher, so this is a matzo cover for Passover, and I started it last year, I think in February, and I wanted to have it done for our Passover Seder, but I was seriously way off in my estimation of how long it would take to do it. So I put it aside for the winter, and then I picked it up again, I think in January or February of this year, and I literally finished it the day of our Passover Seder this year. So we actually got to use it, even though technically the edges and stuff aren't finished. I was determined we were going to use it on our table anyway, so we did. And it's a cooler design by Nancy Rossi, and I did it on 14 count Aida, again, because that's all I've ever stitched on, and I use all DMC flosses because that's all I ever knew existed until August. So the next one is actually a pattern that I'm trying to make. It's for Rosh Hashanah, and originally I was going to do it for cards because I just found out this year also that you could put cross stitches in a card, in a greeting card, which I thought was pretty cool. So I'm trying to do that pattern myself, but I've never made my own pattern before, so it's not done. And the honey pot is really crooked, so I'm probably going to have to rework it a few times, but I'm going to do it. So those were my finishes. Whips. I also like to do embroidery and knitting and crochet, which I have now learned as an adult how to do. Bless my mom's heart, she finally got through to me. But this is an embroidery project that my daughter and I both started. It is the Winter Splendor Stitch Along. It's from Stitch Doodles, and it was their 2022 Stitch Along. But as you can see, I am not very far because I am very, very slow with embroidery. And again, because it's a winter thing, I only want to stitch it in the winter. And we live on the coast of North Carolina, which means winter is about 2 weeks long. sometimes a little bit longer, but it's hard to get in the mood for winter when there's never really snow. So my next whip is for Sampler September, which I obviously did not know about until I think last week. And I will be honest, I never liked samplers. I don't understand the point of them. I understood, 100 years ago why girls did them, but I don't understand them now, and I never liked them. And I don't want a bunch of alphabets all over my wall, so I wasn't going to spend money for a sampler I didn't like. So I searched the internet, and I actually found 3 samplers that I like. They were all free. So I started one. I got it from Some of Their Stories website. It's SUM, Some of Their Stories website, and it says hold fast to that, which is good, and I really like that. But I can't show you the chart. Now she gave the mock-up away free, where you could pick your own colors, and then if you wanted the full chart you had to buy it. And like I said, I didn't want to spend money on a sampler, so I didn't buy it. So I got the material. This again is 14 count Aida. It's the light fillers, and I just picked my own colors. It pretty much matches the mock-up, but I picked a darker red than what was in the picture, and I really like it. I ran out of green, so the border's not done, but I got more today, and I don't know if I'll finish it in September, but I'm definitely going to cut the entire alphabet out, so that'll save time. Also, I found another one. It was free. It's from Anchor, and it's called the Shoreline Sampler. Excuse me. It is a beach scene, which I really like. And I have it kitted up and ready to go if by some miracle I finish this one in time. So my next whip was a kit by Jan Lynn, and it's 14 count Aida. It's all the DMC floss, and I'm just using the kit how it came. What I did discover when I was going through this stuff though is that the DMC numbers in here don't match a lot of the colors that are now. So I guess, I don't know if the ones I have are old or if this was just an old kit, but I actually got this at Walmart because we don't live near a needlework shop. So everything I get that I do purchase has to come from Walmart or Hobby Lobby or Michael's or something like that. And their selection, other than their floss, is pretty generic. So they don't change out their kits very often. And this is the first kit I've seen in years that I actually liked. So I bought it, and I'm making it, and it is a gift. So hopefully she's not watching. And I've done a lot of this. The whole sky is just half stitch, which I actually just learned was called a tent stitch. So thank you, FlossTube, for teaching me a lot of stuff. But I really like this. But this is the one I was talking about, that the colors are kind of muted. Like the sky is actually like 2 shades of blue and 2 shades of white-ish. And the sand, I think there's 2 or 3 colors in the sand and 2 or 3 in the grass, and it's just very confetti down there and very washed out, and I'm honestly quite tired of stitching this. But I'm determined to finish it by the necessary due date this year to give it as a gift. Fall. So it's almost fall now. So I'm doing this little fall towel. I have a bunch of towels like this with the little cross stitch panel that I inherited from my mom. And so like I said, I don't normally make stuff for myself. So this year I decided I was going to have a fall hand towel. So this is where I am in it. I really love stitching it, but I'm sorry I can't tell you the name of this brand or the size. of it or anything because it didn't have tags on it when I got it out of her stuff. All I know is the holes are ginormous, so I have been using three threads over one for this whole thing, but I think it fills it out really nicely, so I like it. So there it is. This is my favorite thing right now to stitch on, other than the sampler, which I am enjoying stitching, surprisingly. And the last two things are rather two incarnations of the same thing. To tell you the story about this, my husband, okay, so one of the things that I'm going to do for a future video is I'm going to do an FFO parade because they're going to be pictures. Because one thing I sometimes remember to do is take a picture of the thing I've made before I give it to the person I made it for. So I do have a few of those pictures, but because they're all things that I've already made and already given, I didn't want to include it here. Plus, we're just learning how to do the whole YouTube thing on the back end, and I don't know how much time it's going to take my husband to learn how to put links and embed photos, and I'm trying to be gentle on him. So I made a very big cross stitch. It was the first ginormous thing I ever did, which after looking at the heaven and earth things is not ginormous at all. But I went from minis to, I think it's like 18 by 18. The stitched part I think is 18 by 18. So we did get a really wide custom mat and a nice big frame for it, but I think the stitched part was actually about an 18 inches by 18 inches, but it was full coverage. It looks like it's stitched on black material. It's not. It was stitched on white. It was full coverage. So that was a huge, huge jump from the little tiny magnet things that I was really good at. So I made this. We got it framed. We gave it to a very dear friend of ours. And after that, he's like, oh, okay, can you make me something? I was like, sure. And he wanted me to stitch his family crest. And I said, okay. So he took his family crest and he went into, hold on, I have a card for it. He went to picturecraftwork.com and he made the pattern from the picture. But he doesn't really know a lot about cross stitch, bless his heart. So it had 41 colors. It was like, it's 226 stitches by 266. Now again, I had only ever done one big thing and it did not have 41 colors. I don't know how many it had, but it was insane. But the point is, this thing, and I'll show you this thing, I worked on it a lot for like 2 years. It is the most confetti thing you can imagine, and it just looks like one color of blue in here. That's 2 colors of blue, and all of these arrows are very, very confetti-y. There's like 10 or 12 colors in them, and they about drove me nuts. So this is how far I got, and recently I was feeling guilty for not having finished it because I literally started this thing like 10 years ago. And I was like, let's just redo this pattern, because I think if we drop the stitch or the colors down some, it won't be so crazy confetti to stitch. So we did. We took that same picture of the family crest and we put it in, well, he did, because he is my technical guy. He put it in pixelstitch.net. It's roughly the same size. It's 220 stitches by 259. We got it down to 21 colors. And I started working on that. Oh, this, I'm sorry, y'all. This is what the original one would look like finished. So then when we redid it, we got it down to 21 colors. This is what it looks like. It's a lot cheesier. So I'll tell you about that in a minute. And I had just learned about gridding, which I never knew before. So I gridded the fabric before I started. And I started to cover the entire thing, but then I realized that the pattern didn't need that much, so I quit drawing all the rest of the lines at the bottom. Yeah, so this is how far I got. Sorry about that. Again, there's two different colors of blue in there, and they're not even the same two blues that are in the other one. But I was working on this every day when he left to surprise him with. And recently I realized that I don't really like this one either. And I feel like the arrows in this one are really, really good. They look a lot better. There's some weird shading bits in the other one around the arrows, like shadows and stuff. I don't like it at all. So what I've decided to do is go back to the other one, but I'm going to do the coloration of the arrows like the new version. So they're not going to have all this weird shadow and stuff, which I don't even know if you can see. I don't know if you can see it in this picture. It's really dark, but they just put like light blue lines and white lines and just all kinds of weird stuff, which I don't like. This one, the arrows are more crisp and clean looking, and I feel like it's going to be a lot better when it's done. But this one up in the crown part of the crest is just kind of cheesy looking, and I don't like it. So I'm going to go back to the original one. I cleaned it up because it sat in a closet in a Ziploc bag for a few years, and it was dirty. So I cleaned it and I've got it ready to go, and I'm going to start working on that one again instead. I imagine it's still going to take me a while though because it's big. And after that, I have plans to buy Heaven and Earth and start it because they are beautiful. I love them. I watched, again, Catkin and Lily. She just finished Heaven and Earth. I don't remember what it's called, but it has a bunch of animals and stuff on it. It is so pretty. I love it. So I went to their website and I looked and I found, I think 5 that I like. I think it's 5, but I'm going to start with the Stitch in Time one because I love it. So that's my stuff. I hope you enjoyed it, and please let me know if the lighting and the sound are okay because I just used our cell phone for this and I'm not really sure how it's going to come out. But I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye, y'all.